The New York Jets have made another signing, picking up a player at a position of major need, and we got to break it all down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Jets Football 365. If you are a New York Jet fan, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out a ton, and only 17.2% of viewers are subscribed to the channel. Let's jump right into what we got for this evening. Coming from Jets ESPN insider Rich Cimini. Source: the New York Jets have agreed to terms with veteran wide receiver Tim Patrick, who visited today. Played 16 games last season for Jacksonville, caught 15 passes for 187 yards and 3 touchdowns. A veteran presence in the wide receiver room with inside-outside flexibility. So, Jets get Tim Patrick after a 2025 offseason full of Tim Patrick rumors to the Jets. 2026 was significantly quieter. Now, turns out that 2026 is the year that the Jets are going to add Tim Patrick, and it is pretty clear to see why they did it with the connections that Tim Patrick has to Darren Muji. More from Rich Cimini: Tim Patrick has ties to Darren Muji when he was in Denver and Aaron Glenn when he was in Detroit. So, Darren Muji was in the front office with Denver when Tim Patrick was there, and when Aaron Glenn was a coach in Detroit, Tim Patrick was on the Detroit Lions. At 32 years old, Tim Patrick's best days are behind him, but he is a big target and is regarded as a great locker room guy. So that is what is being talked about right now by a lot of Jets insiders is, locker room guy is the plan for Tim Patrick. And that's what you would expect when you sign a 32-year-old player in May. Like the best free agents are off the board and are all signed in the NFL at this stage of the game. And if you are a free agent who is still available, there's a reason why you are still available. You're either someone that is demanding too much money, or you're a veteran who has gotten old and lost a step, which there's nothing wrong with that. You can still add to a team in the locker room, or in the case of Tim Patrick, we needed a wide receiver incredibly badly, and we can still use a guy like Tim Patrick. Our depth chart at the wide receiver position, it's pretty weak. Tim Patrick has already been added to the depth chart by ESPN. They have him slotted in as our wide receiver 4 behind Azareye'h Mitchell and Omar Cooper Jr. And that is exactly where you kind of want Tim Patrick. You want him wide receiver 3/4. You want him wide receiver 4 if you don't have 2 wide receiver 1s. Like if you're a team like the Bengals or the Cowboys where you have 2 wide receiver 1s, then you're okay with Tim Patrick being your wide receiver 3. And that might be the Jets. Maybe Omar Cooper Jr. outperforms his 30th overall draft capital, and he does turn into the fact that the Jets have 2 wide receiver 1s. That would be amazing. A more likely outcome is, Omar Cooper Jr. puts up, 550 yards, 600 yards, something like that. And Tim Patrick is going to, stay as your wide receiver 3 or 4, but he's going to be someone that in a wide receiver room that does not have 2 wide receiver 1s, you would rather have a better wide receiver 3, which is what we are hoping that Azareye'h Mitchell is going to bring to the table. Azareye'h Mitchell was acquired via the Sauce Gardner trade with the Indianapolis Colts at the trade deadline last year, and unfortunately did drop the ball kind of a ton with the Jets. But if you pay attention to his history with the Colts and with Texas, where he graduated from, before that he transferred from Georgia, he didn't have drop problems over the course of his career in college or the NFL. So when we see him dropping the ball with the Jets, we can feel pretty good and say that that is not a problem that has historically plagued Azareye'h Mitchell. And we can just imagine that is an outlier. It's just something that happened. It's not a trend. When you see, I feel like I'm ragging on him in every video, but he's the perfect example in this situation. When you see Arian Smith, it's the complete opposite. If you see Arian Smith goes to Georgia, has drop problems, he comes to the NFL, the red flag is he has to improve his hands, and you see him continue to drop the ball. You go, okay, this guy has drop problems. With Azareye'h Mitchell, it's the other way around. Even though you see him dropping the ball, you hold off giving him that drop prone label because it hasn't plagued him over the course of his career. So that's not something that I'm super concerned about when it comes to Azareye'h Mitchell. The things that you are concerned about with Azareye'h Mitchell is his lack of versatility in terms of routes ran, and just overall his lack of production. He was selected out of the second round by the Indianapolis Colts and was expected to be the Alec Pierce replacement. But if you know where we are in May of 2026, Alec Pierce is, whether you agree with it or not, and I certainly don't, one of the highest paid wide receivers in football, and Azareye'h Mitchell is not. So Azareye'h Mitchell is someone we need to step up. Omar Cooper Jr., we are hoping he's going to step up. I'm not going to say we need him to step up because that sounds like he was already given the opportunity and didn't make good on it, which of course is not the case. But we got to remember when it comes to leaving Tim Patrick as a wide receiver 4, we can also promote Kenyon Sadiq from the tight end position to our slot receiver. So we can run one of our big wide receivers on the outside, or two of our bigger wide receivers on the outside, and that's including Garrett Wilson, even though I understand he is shorter with pretty skinny shoulders, and then put Kenyon Sadiq in the slot. The idea with running Kenyon Sadiq at the slot is he is huge. So the nickel corner that he's likely going to be matched up against is he's going to have a major mismatch against. So if he has something like an out route or any sort of route where he's able to utilize the leverage that his larger frame gives him, we are going to have a mismatch at that position where it's going to be something like, in basketball, when someone gets back down on the post and, their guy puts his arm up, you can easily just, I don't want to say hand it to him, but the passes are short enough and easy enough where you're never going to miss the pass. The ball is always going to go where you're aiming it, and that's what Kenyon Sadiq can allow you to do from the slot. Just run like a nice quick out route, and if you're not impressed by 4 yards, every single drive starts with 1st and 10. If you get 4 yards on every single play, you will win the Super Bowl. I guarantee it. Move the chains. Just all you need is guys that can create mismatches, which is much more easier said than done. But Kenyon Sadiq, playing him out of the slot, that is someone that can give you a major mismatch that the New York Jets could not offer last season. And the great thing about running Sadiq out of the slot is you still have a tight end in Mason Taylor, who we know is talented, was selected out of the second round out of LSU in 2025. We still know he is good. We know he's talented. Now, a lot of rookie tight ends, and this includes Kenyon Sadiq, take a long time to develop. So maybe Mason Taylor is going to need another year before he turns into a guy that can give you a lot of yards in the receiving game. But we have seen the route running from him. We've seen the hands from him. Aaron Glenn has already came out and said he expects a big season out of him. And that's something that we are hoping for to get out of Mason Taylor. Now, the last thing I want to throw up on the screen here, a little bit of more information here from Jets insider Zach Rosenblatt for The Athletic. The Jets are signing wide receiver Tim Patrick to a 1-year deal worth slightly more than the veteran salary benefit. Per source, the veteran salary benefit goes for around $1.5 million, but Tim Patrick had interest from other teams. The Jets view Patrick as a good culture guy and quality veteran depth at a position that needs it. So essentially what we were saying earlier, a culture guy and just depth at the wide receiver position, a position that we desperately need that depth. But just continue building this wide receiver room. We got a ton of guys in it now. Something's got to click, right? Last year it was absolutely terrible. You would imagine it can only be better, and I think I'm not even gonna say you can imagine. I truly believe this year, in terms of Jets pass catchers, it will be a better year because last year the pass game was just absolutely pathetic. That's what I got for this video. If you stuck around this long, I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video all the way through. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and go Jets.